Hi, it's Lee from coloringqueen.net, and today I'm colouring from Lunar Colouring Book by Swedish illustrator Maria Trolle. Now, I've selected the little page on the left, which features the little girl having a nap in her hammock, and I love this book, and I think the reason I love it so much is because of the little girl that's featured throughout the pages in the book. Whereas a lot of Maria's books are just more flowers and plants and animals, which is great. But I love this cute little girl. She's adorable. Now, I always colour too much. I never leave enough white space or light space for contrast. So today I'm going to try and be better and I'm going to try and remind myself to leave some light space. So I'm using my compass to make a mark to show where it should be lighter because the moon is glowing, so that you can see that there will be a graduation of light and dark and contrast. So that's the intent. We'll see what the finished product ends up like. But as I go along, I'll erase those lead pencil marks, which are quite faint, but because I'm going to go in light in that area, they might show up. But I also do want to have a blue on the outside to show that the tree is in shadows and things like that. So I don't know how this will turn out, to be honest. It's my first time getting the compass out since probably school time, so we'll see how we go. Now I'm going to highlight this moon in Spanish orange from the Prismacolor range and just sort of darken it up a bit. I know most people would probably use grey or shades of whites, but I wanted to do something different and sort of contrast the oranges of the moon with the blue background. And we do often have orange moons as well. So I'm coming in here with some sand from the Prismacolor range and just sort of softening out that Spanish orange because it is quite dark, so I don't want it too dark, but I don't want it so light that you can't even notice it. And I'm going to go over this with some Deco Yellow, and then I'm going to add some lemon yellow just to give it sort of a little bit of a yellow. And I'll be coming back and I'll be working and blending this moon into it more as the picture progresses. I hope today that I'm going to get the background done. Now, someone asked me the other day, I think it was on Instagram or something like that, or maybe on this channel. Oh, my memory is shocking. This is lemon yellow, by the way. Someone asked me why my pictures in the videos, they often look different when I photograph them, and that's really simple. Usually when I video, I don't finish the whole picture. I actually go back and I add another layer off camera, and then it does look different when I finally finish it because I've added an extra layer or sometimes even 2 layers in. So I'm going to come in with my Indanthrone Blue. I can never say that name. And I want to have it darker at where the trees are, around the leaves, just for like a bit of a shadow. And I'm actually thinking I should have used my Art Sticks Prismacolor pencils here because they're bigger and larger areas like this one. It's easier for me with my wrist to use those rather than flapping about with these pencils because I don't have any patience with doing larger areas. And I know this is not large by any standards, but when your wrist is aching, it's large enough for me. So I'm already regretting not using the art sticks. So next time I'll have to use those and rethink it. So I'm going to go around here with the Indanthrone Blue and just add in all this dark bits. And I will obviously be coming back and adding more at a later stage. But I hope you guys are all doing really well today. I'm just spending the day with Millie. She is actually sitting on the same chair as me, so I'm going to be making lots of mistakes because I'm sitting on the edge of the chair. She won't let me have the cushiony bit or the front bit, and she's getting very upset with me for taking her chair, and which is actually my chair, but she has claimed it, and it's actually the chair that she used to sit in when we first got her. And she used to sit next to my bed, and she'd cuddle up in that chair next to me. I moved my bedside table so that she could sit in it, and she'd spend the night there every night when we first got her. And now she has, because I've moved it out to use it for colouring, she's decided that it's her chair, and whilst I might be allowed to sit on it, I certainly can't sit on the whole thing because she's got that. Typical cats, they do whatever they want. And I've got to say, I actually love that about them. I love how that they're independent and they will just do whatever they fancy. It always just makes me laugh. But anyway, so I've been doing a lot of gardening on the weekend because it's been a little bit warmer here, but not quite as cold. So for me, perfect Goldilocks weather, just right. I hate the humidity and I hate when it's too hot. I like it hot enough to go for a swim, but I don't like to be too cold that, I have to put on lots of jumpers and even put the heater on like I had to the other day. There was no way I was getting out of the shower to a cold room, so I actually had to find the heater and put that on. But it's been such lovely weather, and even though we're in subtropical and it's winter here, the garden is just going really strange. Like things that should be coming up in spring are already out. Like I've got tomatoes that have self-seeded and they're already little green tomatoes, and I was going to pull them all out because I didn't plant them. They self-seeded from last year, and they started actually growing, and they're getting bigger and bigger, and it's winter. I don't understand it. So I thought, well, rather than wait till spring to plant my flowers, I will plant them now, and by the time spring comes, they will be in full force, and then I can always add some more and bulk it up a bit if I need to. So, because of this lovely, great, mild winter, if you like, that we're having, I am going to be planting lots and lots of flowers. So, I bought some zinnias, some white ones, because they will look really good with our grey house, although all the neighbours seem to think our house is white, not grey. Sorry, this is Blue Violet Lake, and I'm just going to blend this into the Indanthrone Blue so that it's not so stark. And then I'll be adding some more colours as well. Sorry, the Blue Violet Lake. And then because it's also blue, I will add in some blue slate as well to give it a bit more sort of grey look. So we'll see how we go. So what was I say? Yeah, so I'm going to put in the white zinnias out the front, and just to go nicely with the house. I've had them before and people always comment on them that they look really nice. And then out the back where our black fence is, I've got these green zinnias that have got the most beautiful green petals. They're really gorgeous. And up against the black fence, they look fantastic. So I had them for the last couple of years. So usually I get a different, lots of varieties like orange and pink and whatnot. But this year I thought I'm just going to stick with white out the front and green out the back, and they always look nice. And the thing I like about zinnias is that they're really hardy and they grow really big, and you can cut them, put them in the vase, or just leave them in the ground, and they look great either way. So And I've also got a ton of other flowers. I've got this whole little, it's meant to be a tea caddy that you put different types of teas in it, but I use it to put my little seed packets in. And I've sorted them all into like spring and summer, things to plant in autumn, things to plant in winter, and things to plant all year round. So I'll be going through that and seeing what other little flowers and whatnot that I can put in from that range of things that I've got. But some of them, I don't know why I bought the seeds, because some of them take like 200 days to flower. And quite frankly, I don't have that patience. I really don't. And I keep hoping that I won't be here in 200 days, that we will have moved somewhere. And even though before we wanted to move down to the Gold Coast, now I'm sort of thinking it would be so nice to move into the country and just have like a lovely little country farmhouse style cottage and sort of hardly any neighbours and like a little village nearby. And I don't know why. I feel like I'm sort of nesting a little bit and just want this whole idyllic country life. The other day I seen a place that actually had horse stables as well, and I was going pretty gaga over that. Although I used to horse ride a lot when I was younger, and I had two horses. I used to do a lot of cross country horse riding, but then I had two car accidents, and that kind of knocked out the horse riding for a long time. So I don't know whether I would be able to ride because of those long term injuries that I've got from it, but I wouldn't mind giving it a try. And, maybe if it was a quieter horse and, not so active, because I love the smell of horses. I'm one of those people that goes to the show and goes straight to where the horses are, and I just take a big deep breath and smell it. And I love the smell of horse manure and saddles. I know that's weird, but I love that smell. It's like grass, and then the saddle and the saddle oil, Neatsford oil, I think it is, for memory. Beautiful saddle oil, and you can just smell it. And I'm just going to add a little bit more lightness of blue here. Oh, sorry, this is blue slate. It would be so nice, I think, to be in the country. And I'm probably romanticising it a little bit, but I don't know. I keep looking at all these pictures of cute farmhouses, and we've got a lot of things in storage that would look ideal in a cute farmhouse. And I'm thinking that's where I'm at this time in my life. That's what I would like to have to live, which is quite funny because out of David and I've always been the one that wants to be in the city and not anywhere out in the sticks, as I call it. But I'm the one from a farm and David's the one from a city, so we're two different people. But I think I've definitely come around to living an idyllic life in the country. So, watch this space. It might happen. We never know. And I've gone a little bit too much with the blue here, so just erasing a little bit out so I can put this blue in here. And I will be coming back adding more layers off camera. This is just showing you where what my plans are and where I'm planning to put the colours, etc. So, and afterwards I will be putting some Posca on it, and if I make too many mistakes, it might have even more Posca dots on it than what the little circles are in the book. So that's the great thing about colouring books. You can always cover it up with something if you go too far off course. And as well as planting the flowers, I've also got some alfalfa and mustard greens growing. Years ago when I used to grow these things, I used to just sprinkle them onto a bit of damp cotton wool and you put them on the windowsill, and Bob's your uncle, a week later you'd come back and you would get the scissors out and cut off the alfalfa or whatever for your salad. Nowadays, they've got these whole little kit things that you can buy where you fill them up with water, you put a tissue down, you put the seeds on, and Bob's your uncle, a week later you come back with these seeds. So I've got two of those and I've got the seeds going in them. And the reason I got those is because Buddy's diet is to have a lot of leafy greens, and those things were on the list. So I thought, well, I may as well just grow them for him, and then he can have a steady supply. And as well as that, I also put some herbs or more in the garden for him that he can have with his special diet. So I put some marjoram in and some more parsley because that goes into his meals. So killing a few birds with one stone there, and it saves going to the shop and buying just small amounts of it. So I've got, I think, 2 planter boxes full of that. So I'll see how long that lasts. Oh, what else has been happening? Oh, I do have to tell you that not this month, but next month, I will be doing something that I haven't done for a couple of years, which is having a giveaway. So I'll tell you a bit more about it towards the end of this video, but it definitely will be worth the wait, honestly, because I've already selected the book and it is beautiful. Beautiful. I think the other day I was telling you about our neighbours and down the street and how they're just driving the neighbourhood crazy. Well, the other night, it was just one of those weird nights. David had gone up to the supermarket, and when he came out from the supermarket, put the key in the car, and of course the car was dead. It had died completely. So he rings me up. He's got a bag of groceries to come and get him. So I nipped down there and grabbed him from the supermarket in my car. And then he thought, well, I'll go back and I'll get the neighbour to help jumpstart the car so I can at least get it back home so it's not sitting in the car park overnight. So this is still light cerulean blue that I'm putting on here. And the neighbour took him down and jump-started the car for him. And while he was gone, there was this huge noise coming from down the road. And it was just so loud. People screaming and swearing. There was just sounds of like violence, people smashing into cars, that sort of thing. So I raced downstairs and, had a look outside, and I could see up in the distance that it was these neighbours that we all sort of wished that they weren't our neighbours and that they would move somewhere else. And they were out on the street. The street was packed with people. From what I could see, there was like about 5 people involved in some sort of fight, altercation in the middle of the road. And there were just a ton of neighbours either filming it or just watching. No one was actually helping. And then while I was there watching, I was like a block away, and there was no way I was going to walk down there and have a sticky beak. I'm just not into watching that sort of thing. So while I was there, I heard this guy scream, and he sounded really in pain. And then I heard him say, I can't say on the YouTube channel, but you can figure it out. I heard him say that someone had put a piece of cutlery in him, or flatware, I think you call it in the US. And, the flatware that is quite sharp. And it seemed like all these people were just watching and they weren't actually helping him, which so many people do. Like, the bystander effect is just so real that people just will not get involved and help. So I quickly rang O, which is emergency services in Australia, to get an ambulance for this guy because the scream was blood curdling. And I was put on hold. Like, I've rang emergency services several times over the years, more usually to get an ambulance for David's mum, but I've never been put on hold. And this time I was, and I was on hold for like 5 minutes, which I know doesn't seem long, but it is if you have an actual emergency. It's quite a long time to be waiting to even be put through to the service that you want. And so they eventually got back to me and they were trying to connect me to the local police. Now, our local police station is actually quite big. It services quite a big area though, but not a huge area by suburban standards. And we've got our own courthouse and watch house and things like that. It's not like it's a little two-person police station in a regional part of Australia. It's actually quite a big suburban police station. And they could not put me through. It was just busy, 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 busy. And they kept coming back to me and saying, oh, we're still trying, we're still trying, we're still trying. So I was on hold with emergency services, basically, not getting put through for over 12, 15 minutes. In the meantime, I'm out on my balcony watching this melee happen in the street, and people are all over the place. They're walking down the streets, and you don't know if they're like part of the problem or if they were just looky-loos and they're now going home because everyone was a bit riled up. Then there's this Rottweiler walking around the neighbourhood, and it's loose, it's not on a lead, it's quite aggressive, and people are yelling out for it to get out of the way. And anyway, it was a good 15 minutes before the sirens started and the first of the police vans finally turned up. In the end, there were 5 police vans and there were people dispersing all over the place, and it was sort of crazy. 5 police cars, 2 ambulances, and they were there for hours. You know, eventually David came back and they were still going. There was still some parts of this fight happening and the police are trying to break it up, and it was just crazy. I thought in the 5 years that we've lived here, we've never experienced anything like that. It was just really, really weird. But that went on for hours and hours. And the next day, when I went out walking Buddy, I found out that the fight... Oh, and while I was calling on the phone to emergency services, there was this guy racing along the street and he jumped over the fence of our neighbours, which is like a 1.8 metre fence, 6-foot fence. He jumped over their fence into the people on a diagonal to us and just went and hid in their backyard. And I was thinking, Christ, I hope no one jumps over our fence and, you know, comes into our property, because David's out and, you know, Buddy's got issues and, you know, whatnot, and I don't want to be fighting anyone off. And after having called emergency services and waiting 10 minutes, I didn't really like my chances if someone did, you know, come in and that I didn't want to be here. But anyway, fortunately that didn't happen, and the police eventually came and there was like 5 of them, 2 ambulances. They were here for hours. They had a guy on the street that they were working on, and the ambulance had another one that they took away immediately. But the next day, all the neighbours were out the front, and when I walked past with Buddy, they were all just saying that they wished that these neighbours would just move, and because the neighbourhood has just gone downhill so much. Their kids ride unregistered bikes with no lights on them, motorbike trail bikes, which are not meant to be on the street, up and down the street. They've got no lights, no helmets. They don't care if cars are coming or anything like that, and you can't see them in the dark, and the noise is horrendous. But yeah, so living next to them, I guess, you know, they would really hate it. And of course the Rottweiler was their dog, and for days after they had this altercation, the dog wasn't there. I think animal control picked up the dog because it was wandering the streets, and it was put away. And for days, I was able to walk Buddy past without this dog aggressively jumping at the fence like it usually does and trying to escape. But on the fourth day, I think I walked past, the dog had come back and it's banging on the fence, and I was like, oh, the honeymoon's over for that. But yeah, all the neighbours were out on their lawn sort of having like this committee meeting informally and just, saying how they wished they would move. So I asked them what happened, and it turns out it was this family dispute. It was just a family thing that got totally out of hand. I mean, it seemed like one of those things where strangers come in, or acquaintances come in and, have violence against somebody. I'm just coming in here with some light aqua, and that was cloud blue that I had before. So I'm just coming in with some light aqua between the orange and the blue background. So I thought it was strangers because David said he'd seen a sort of car that was acting a bit suspiciously that afternoon and sort of looked like it was casing the area. But it turns out it was just a family feud that really got out of hand, really, really got out of hand by the sounds of it. So, yeah, I don't know what's going on in that family, but, you know, those things clearly shouldn't be happening. But, and the kid that had jumped over the fence, he wasn't actually, he was trying to avoid the violence that the family was unleashing on him, and so he was doing a runner, which is what I'd be doing as well. I understand that perfectly. So he was trying to find some safety from all of this family drama. So I'm just coming in with cloud blue here. So now our neighbours across the road are moving out, and they've spent the last couple of days moving out. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I hope we get good neighbours. I really do. And if we don't, I hope we can move to the country really, really quickly. But I just really hope that the people over the road are going to be really nice. The new ones that we've got next door, they're so quiet, you never hear them. They're just like little quiet mice. You don't even hear their cars when they go to work. They're just so quiet. And they've got 2 kids, and you never hear a peep out of them. They were there for 2 weeks before we realised that they were actually living there. And I went and introduced myself to them, but they are so quiet. They even had a housewarming party that you couldn't even hear. But these ones down the street, they're not quiet. So I hope the new neighbours we get over the road are really, really quiet. And I know some of you like to keep up to date with Millie and Buddy. So Millie is going pretty well after her little surgery, and she actually seems to be whining less than what she used to. And I've made a bit of a mistake with this blue over here on the side. I've really, I don't know, scratched it in a bit. Anyway, you can see what it looks like now with adding an extra layer. And I'm just going to add a little bit more light aqua here, just to sort of show out the greens that will reflect off the leaves and whatnot when I do the leaves. So, and just basically to blend that in a little bit further. Now, it's not exactly how I wanted it, but, at least I'm trying to get that light space in there. So, it's all a work in progress, isn't it? And if I don't like it too much, I can always, as I said, put more Posca on it later. So, yeah, so Millie is doing really well post-surgery, and she doesn't seem to be meowing like she used to. So I think that tooth must have been giving her a lot of problems that we didn't know about. So that is good news. And Buddy has gone 8 days without a seizure. So we were pretty excited about that. But then he decided to have them all at once. So I've been up all night. He's had 7 seizures now in the last 23 hours. And I've rang up his vet and they've fitted me in tomorrow to give him a vitamin C injection, try and help him a little bit. So hopefully that will work. So what I've got here is my eraser guide. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but these are really good if you want to add a white highlight in. If, say, you've already coloured and you've forgotten to add a highlight, so you can follow the shapes on this guide to add the highlight. Or, of course, you don't need the guide at all. You can do it freehand. Now, because Millie has been sitting behind me and she also bumped me when I was working on this off camera, I've got some blue into the leaves that I want to get rid of. So I just choose the pattern from the guide where I can erase, and that will just erase that little section without going onto the other parts of the picture and erasing the background that will then have to be redone. So you can use it for highlights, you can use it as a guide to erase things carefully without going on to other colours. They're really quite handy and they're only cheap, they're not expensive at all. I'll put links below the video if I can find places that sell them, but if you come across them, they're pretty handy. And so I think I'll just erase these little bits out. And the reason that I'm not erasing all of them is because some of the leaves and grass will actually be darker greens because they're in the dark part of the picture. So I'm only erasing the mistakes I made where the leaves or the grass is meant to be lighter because they're in the lighter part of the picture. So I hope that makes sense. So I guess that is all. Oh yes, the giveaway. So the giveaway will be in August. I already have the book, and let me tell you, it is stunning. It is absolutely beautiful. It is a luxury colouring book, and honestly, it is absolutely lovely. And I think anyone would be happy to own it. It's a really high quality book. It's a beautiful book. And I absolutely love it, and I've got 2 copies of it, so that should tell you my love interest. And I want to give out 1 copy to someone, so I'm still not sure how to work this. So it's been a while since I've done a giveaway, so I'm thinking by next month, by the end of the month, I should know more details. So keep an eye out for that as well. So that's it from me. Until next time, stay safe and happy colouring.